And for all of you who are joined on with us, we are so thankful that you are here. If you got to listen to that last part, we hope that you got to listen to the whole thing. But if you didn't, we will, here at Top Weddings, we do take these videos and cut them. So we will be posting it on IGTV and then on our website and all those kind of good places, and in our 417 Engaged Couples group. And so this next part I have been giddy about, I feel like all day, because when you watch Austin's films, I immediately just go, wow, how did he film that? How did he do that? And, when I first met Austin, I'm like, okay, so, tell me about your team. He told me that a lot of his weddings, he does by himself. And we're going to get to hear all about that, and an amazing, beautiful wedding. So Austin, I know that you're going to take over on this. So Austin will be directing us as we go through this next topic. If you're just joining us, if you have questions for Austin, as far as, anything with filmmaking, or, if you have a question that, maybe you are not sure if you should ask, filmmakers, definitely put it in the comments. If you're in the 417 Engage group, Shelby is monitoring all comments, so feel free. And you can message us too. If you don't feel like putting it out there for everyone, you can message us at Top Weddings as well. So again, today I'm going to go ahead and kind of break this down again. So we are with Austin Barton with AceLegendary, and he is a filmmaker here in Springfield, but he does travel all over, which we are going to see here in just a few minutes. And Austin, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then we're going to let you go ahead and get your screen shared.
Okay. So a little context here. This is a wedding film that I shot last year, actually, a year ago today. Today is this couple's anniversary. So yeah, happy anniversary to Jessica and Bradley. That's some crazy good timing. I actually did not plan that and realize that it was their anniversary this morning. So really good timing. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite films that I filmed in a while, just because it was kind of out of my toolbox. And as was kind of alluded to earlier, I shot this entirely solo. So it was just me. There was supposed to just be, 1 or 2 days of filming, but I ended up going out a whole bunch of extra days in filming just to get some additional B-roll. That tends to happen a lot on destination weddings. People generally think like, oh, you're going to San Diego, that's going to be a pretty sweet vacation. But in reality, it was like 4 days of work and 2 days of travel. But wouldn't change it the world. So we're just going to watch this in its entirety, and then I'm going to come back and kind of dissect. I'm going to show you what it looks like from my post-production world, like what it actually looks like to put a film together based on all the pieces that I shot. But I'm just going to mute my mic here, and we're just going to play this guy out.
Perfect.
Hi, baby.
Thank God we did a first look.
Thank God. That would have been a bad. We would have had to take 20 minutes for the ceremony just for me to figure it all out. From the first moment I set eyes on you, I knew that you were someone special. I only wish I had met you sooner so that I could have loved you longer. I promise to always put you first, to cherish you in every moment. I promise to be your protector and to adore you for the rest of our lives. While doing laundry, I promise to always use that correct amount of detergent. I pledge to be present and attentive when you come home from a stressful day of work.
I saw that you were perfect, so I loved you. Then I saw that you were not perfect, and I loved you even more. John Bradley Sundstrom, you are my greatest adventure today and every day. You know me better than anyone else in the world, and somehow you still manage to love me for exactly who I am. There's still a part of me today that cannot believe I'm the one that gets to marry you. You truly are my wish come true, the man of my dreams. The notes begin. You always know how to make me feel special. And he saved all of them? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose it. Goodness sakes, he saved every single one.
As much as you two, Bradley and Jessica, have agreed together and have pledged your faithfulness to one another, according to God's word and the ministry of Jesus Christ, I now pronounce you husband and wife. From now on, you will walk together. Let the love of Jesus Christ be the dialect of your hearts and home. May the vows you shared last a lifetime. May the circles of the ring speak of your unending faithfulness to each other. May God's favor be on your lives and on your marriage. Bradley, you may kiss your bride.
And lastly, soon to be Miss Sundstrom, I vow to grow old with you and to never stop growing with you. Through hard times and good times, through sickness and health, I'll always be at your side. I will love you for all the days of my life.
Oh, I can't. It's my turn.
It's your turn.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So this is Debbie there.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, cool. So this is what the film looks like from my end. It's kind of just a random mess of clips, and well, it's not random, it's really organized chaos. But basically you have, in this particular edit, I've got four layers of audio and 4 layers of video, 3 layers of video plus a graphic layer on top. But basically my general rundown whenever I come home from a wedding day is I come home and I dump all the footage into basically one sequence. And it's, you know, right here, it looks, you know, I've got 34 minutes. This is all trimmed down. So 34 minutes of usable footage right here. These are like what I call my keepers. So I go through the B-roll and I trim down all these different shots. And, you know, this is all stuff that I went out. This is actually like the 3rd day I was in San Diego. So this was after the wedding day. And I just wanted a little bit more B-roll to go with their wedding film because I didn't have a whole lot of time on their actual wedding day to run around the city and kind of capture stuff like this. So yeah, and then I'll basically go through and pick out shots that I really like. You'll recognize some of them didn't make the cut, but that's just kind of the way it is. And these are all like color graded and all that. But basically I go through there, and after that, I bring them into a sequence like this where I have the soundtrack as the base, and then I layer everything together. So if we play the film basically from its start right here, this will kind of give you an idea. Like you can start to hear like right here in the very bottom left, this is like where the ocean sounds come in. So fun fact about all the audio you're about to hear, other than the spoken audio from Bradley and Jessica, whenever they're talking, that's real audio that took place exactly where it happened. But any other additional audio you hear, such as the waves crashing or birds chirping, was actually put in during post. So a lot of times camera audio is used mainly as just a reference. So it's not good enough to get away with using it in the actual film for me. So what I would do is I would use the wave sounding as a reference, and then I would go to some third-party sites and try and find some wave audio that sounded a lot cleaner than what I was able to get on these just totally wind-soaked beaches and cliffs of San Diego. And then I would layer that in on top of the film. That's kind of what you hear right there. Those birds you're hearing are not actually the real birds that were there, but they were similar to the ones that I heard when I was there. And then you kind of comes with the music right here. Boom, clicks into it. Fun fact about this first look, we actually filmed it twice. This right here is the real first look. And these shots, this wide shot, was the second time. So I shot this with Colby and Jess. They're the photographers that they hired to shoot. And so we were kind of contemplating ideas on how to get this sweet, awesome, like wide shot to kind of establish the whole scene. But then we also didn't want to be super far away where we couldn't get their actual reactions. So what we did was, let's do the first look in its entirety right next to them so we can get their general reactions, and then we'll shoot it again, just have them walk back down and try and do similar movements. Nothing's perfect, but basically I was able to stitch together two completely different scenes and make it look like they went together. So all the close-up shots, those are all the first look, and then this shot right here is the second one. So that's kind of how that works, is you can get the best of both worlds, and it looks seamless. I mean, maybe now you can see the flaws, like how her hand was actually in a different spot. The last shot you would have
been a bad.
And the same thing kind of goes for whenever we get to these sounds right here. The plane flying over, that audio on my actual camera was awful. It was just super windy and it was super far away and it didn't sound very great, but I knew I wanted to incorporate that into the film. So that audio is separate. The trees, the wind flying through the wind chimes, all separate. Same for the palm tree winds, the fountain sounds. The camera audio was too noisy, so it clipped a lot. Basically, I just layered a bunch of different audio on top of each other to get the desired outcome and to kind of bring the sights and sounds of San Diego to the film. And then I'm a big fan of time shifting in my films. So if you notice, I started off with a first look. That's, that scene took place halfway through the wedding day, but I wanted to open up with that because it really did establish where everything was taking place. So start off with the first look, then cut to some B-roll, and
first moment I set
basically
eyes on you,
jumped into their ceremony audio. Part of
I only wish
his
I had
vows
met
to
you
her.
sooner so that I could have loved
And I really
you.
liked how they opened up.
I promise to always put you
Provided a little
first,
bit of humor to kick it
to
off.
cherish you in
So,
every
and
moment.
again, you notice how the song is
I
kind of
promise to be
lower
your
and a little bit
protector,
of piano right
to adore
here.
you for the rest of our
And
lives.
then once he starts to joke, it kicks up.
While doing laundry, I promise to always use
So it's important
the
to tie
correct
the
amount
soundtrack to
of
what's being spoken
detergent.
because it really does affect it. Like if he was saying this, this joking
I
dialogue
pledge
on top of those pianos, it wouldn't
to
be as
be
effective as
present and
whenever that
attentive
acoustic guitar hit.
when you come home from a stressful day of
Yeah,
work.
it's crazy. Knowing, so I've watched this film a few times, and then just sitting with you, just listening to that beginning part of how everything that you put into that, all of the different layers, and how you're, just like you said earlier, why audio was number one on your, how to find a good videographer, because it does. It has everything to do. As soon as you start hearing them talk, as soon as you hear all the sounds, it so pulls you in to the whole film. So I just love how, and I love to look at this and really see the layers and the to me, the creativeness that goes into what you put, just watching it here is just incredible. I mean, you know, you could, yeah. So Austin, I'm going to try one thing. I'm going to see if, let me see. I'm hoping this doesn't do anything to us, but what I'm hoping is that we are on the screen together. Hang on.
Okay. I think it jumps between us. Whoever's talking gets put on the screen, right?
It does. So
Yeah.
now I'm hoping that I just did a different setting. This is a new way that we're going live today. So so sorry guys, I had to take that second. But anyway, go ahead, Austin.
Okay, so another thing that I kind of jumped to with time shifting is I don't like to spend a whole lot of time, especially whenever the music is kind of upbeat. Like I didn't want to do just like 10 shots of her getting ready and then 10 shots of him getting ready, followed by 10 shots of the venue getting kind of, you know, the ceremony spot getting kind of set up for the ceremony. So what I did here, and you can kind of see it in these little layers, basically they look kind of like steps. They kind of go up and then back down, up and then back down, up and then back down. And you'll notice that every, the scenes are kind of broken up. So it kind of goes like this. So it does like 2 shots of the venue, a shot of her getting ready, shot of him getting ready, shot of her getting ready, shot of the venue. It kind of goes like that. And it basically just keeps the viewer a little bit more engaged. So it's not just the same scene over and over again. So it kind of bounces around like so. So now we got shots of him getting ready, cuts to the ceremony spot getting set up, shots of her getting ready. And basically all these were all taking place at totally different parts of the day. I mean, she got ready a lot earlier, as most brides do. They get ready a lot earlier than the guys do. The guys usually take their sweet time and get ready around noon or whatever. But I didn't want those spaced out super far in the film. I wanted them on top of each other to kind of build up to this sense of like, oh, here we go. Like the space is getting set up. Like they're both getting ready. They're both getting nervous. And then that kind of leads to this kind of style of editing. Yeah, so it looks like everything's working at the same time when in reality, parts of the day were totally separate. And then we cut back here. Now this is the beginning of the ceremony.
I saw that you were perfect, so I loved you.
Kind of music dies down a little bit,
perfect,
so I'm able to use her vows.
John Bradley Sunshine, you are my greatest adventure today and ever.
Also, I don't know if you can see it right there. See that nice bright neon shirt? Somebody thought it'd be a really great idea. Some tourist thought it'd be a great idea to walk around behind a ceremony with the brightest possible Sharpie colored shirt I've ever seen in my life. But what are you gonna do?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I saw him walking from the left side of the screen, and I was like, oh no, please don't be in my shot during this. And so I backed up I was originally at like 70 millimeters. And then I backed up pretty far just to rack it to 200 so that I could compress the image as much as possible to blur out that person as much as possible, because I knew that there were going to be a problem. But luckily, for these 4 seconds that the clip was on screen, we were able to kind of mask it a little bit.
You know me better than anyone else in the world, and somehow you still manage to love me for exactly who I am. There's still a part of me today.
It's also worth noting that these vows that they're
speaking,
speaking, I mean, they would talk for like
are my wish come true,
5 minutes,
the man of my dreams.
But the whole film itself is about 6. So I was kind of tasked with pulling the best, like, 30 seconds of audio. Sometimes like, and you can kind of see, it might be kind of small on your phones, but there's basically like these little gaps right here. And usually whenever there's a gap, those are pulled from different parts. Like anytime you see a slice like this last part might have been how she wrapped up this, the vows, but there was 3 minutes of stuff that I couldn't fit in. So that's another part about editing, is you really have to find the best parts of whether it's toasts or spoken dialogue from their officiant or vows like this, and kind of put it together in a way that kind of flows. You can't just have a whole run-on piece where you include their entire spoken vows. It would be just too long.
And so just to go back, when you were showing the you know, how you did the venue getting ready and then them getting ready. I feel like the best thing about a film is just telling the story of the day. And, you know, when you look back, you don't necessarily need to know, oh, well, I got ready before him, or, you know, the venue is already done, or, you know, what matters is honestly the way that a filmmaker tells the story, because it just matters that it's all in there. And I love how you've taken those little parts, because, you know, and then added the B-roll. And for those of you who don't know, B-roll is just Austin, explain B-roll just real quick. You can explain. I started to explain it. That's silly.
Well, it's whenever somebody asks about raw footage from a videographer in modern day, like wedding filmmaking cases, it's literally just like, I wonder if I'll just show you kind of what it looked like on their file. Let's see, where are you, Jessica Bradley? Okay, so basically it was a pretty big day, or a pretty big shoot. We don't need it that big. So all these different cameras, I mean, this is essentially, they're just hundreds and hundreds of little clips. So like, these are all clips from just the first memory card of the actual wedding day. And so you can kind of see the thumbnails, like this is like some of their getting ready stuff, some of their B-roll. These clips are individually like between 4 to 10 seconds in length usually. I don't usually sit there and record, you know, 30-second clips. I'll get my shot and I'll move on to something else, because kind of a variety of content is really important. So whenever you think about B-roll, yeah, it's just all this random stuff. Like it's all the random shots of them, like, you know, all the prep stuff, like her getting her makeup done, like shots of the blinds, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clips. And then like all the different audio files too, like, you know, the different mics that they're all wearing throughout the rest, you know, throughout the full day, you know, whether it's the best man or the brother, bride, ceremony on the groom, the ceremony officiant, the reading that somebody else did during the ceremony. Like it's pretty crazy. And then like, here's some of the audio that I use, like coastal ambience, crowd cheers. Like they actually didn't like the applause that they got whenever they kissed at the end of their ceremony was just it was too muffled from the wind of the freaking, you know, not even stopped wind, because we're right next to the ocean right there. So I had to use like a secondary source. But that's typically what it is. And that's what all this is too. Like these are all B-roll clips, just kind of trimmed down into my favorites so that I could pick and choose what I wanted to use. So it's kind of like just a gigantic puzzle that doesn't really have like an actual predetermined ending. It's really up to you. But yeah, so that's what all these clips are, for sure. They're just kind of put in and layered together.
You always know how to make me feel special. And he saved all of them? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose it. Goodness sakes, he saved every single one.
And you gotta like provide a little bit of context as far as like what they're looking at. This was a boudoir book that she gave him, so I couldn't really do a top down over the shoulder shot for there, but his reaction, I felt, kind of told that, you know, like I wanted to get something that looked like he had that grin, like, oh yeah, this is an awesome gift, but without showing it in its entirety. So kind of gets,
yeah, there was no doubt when, you know, like I said, I've seen this film a few times, and so even I've seen it quite a few times, and I even teared up when we were watching the whole film. But you do it shows without even showing it, and I think it shows what he was looking at without even having to show it. You know what I mean? I love how you did that.
Yep.
Christ, I now pronounce you husband and wife. From now on,
right there, the music kicks in.
Let the love of Jesus Christ
about ready to announce it.
Home.
And then I time it with the music, so as soon as they kiss, that's actually right whenever they dip.
May God's favor be on your lives and on your marriage. Bradley, you may kiss your bride.
Now you raise the music levels up a little bit. Applause right there. That's not the actual applause that occurred that day, but. And now we've got some actually more detailed B-roll shots. These are kind of slider shots that I shot of the various decor, just to give it a little bit more production quality, right? And then we cut towards, you know, some of their personality, like him. They love to dance and goof off, and she had this whole like choreographed dance that she did for him. And then we just jumped to a bunch of B-roll of people just having a freaking awesome time, and yeah, just kind of carry out the rest of the vibe. And here we are with some time shifting again. We jump back to their first dance, which took place many hours before that reception footage.
Never stop growing.
You got to tell based on the night.
Through hard times and good times.
Ending it with audio from
your side.
Ceremony.
I will love you for all the days of my life.
Oh, I can't.
And then that super cute moment right there, where she tries to kiss him. I love that.
Yeah, as we were watching that, knowing that that part was coming up, it's so sweet. So, you know, for anyone who's watching, if you think that film making is not incredibly time intensive, you know, I know just watching all the different layers and everything that you put into it, it's just amazing. And, you know, you look at what they get, you know, afterwards, but then, you know, I know when we did our interview on Top Weddings, you said that sometimes you're looking for days for that perfect song. And then, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, Austin, I can see that. But then going through this and seeing how, like, because of wind, and wind does affect a lot, especially right there on the ocean. I love how you could have just went with that, but that it just goes back to just being that filmmaker that wants and pays attention to those details, because that when that airplane flew over, or when the wind chimed, or, you know, any of that, it just wouldn't be the same if you just heard wind. And you know, obviously when it comes to a wedding, you have to work with the elements, and you also have to know how to work with those, but knowing that you can go back and create that, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, it's and fun fact about those wind chimes too, like the actual noise they're emitting was like really, really quiet. But I was like, I can't just show these but not have some audio to really make it feel like you're standing there hearing it. So and the song though, I actually, you know, they had booked that wedding like almost a year out in advance, and I had already started like looking for more tropical, like poppy stuff, because I was also familiar with their personality, and you know, we had gotten to know each other over a while, so I kind of had an idea. I've had like 3 or 4 songs that I figured were going to work, and then once I got all the footage, got back from my flight, dumped it all, that song just clicked, and it was the perfect amount of up and downs and kind of fit the kind of vibe and the atmosphere and their personality. And so sometimes it takes a while. Like I have spent, you know, weeks trying to find a song, or if I find one, I'll download a demo version of it and I'll put it in place, and it just doesn't work. And sometimes I'll put like 10-15 hours into an edit, and then I realize that it just doesn't work, and I just have to scrap it all and start over again. So, but I mean, that's just kind of what it takes. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I would rather spend a ton of time on each wedding and only do a few, you know, a handful per year, than do like 50 or 60 just cranking out cookie cutter wedding videos, music video style. Like that's just not my thing. Some people may dig that, but that's just not for me. So yeah, but hopefully you guys kind of got some insight into what it's like behind the editing chair, and some thoughts that went into the actual wedding day and how some scenes were pulled off. And again, everything you just watched was all solo. All those different shots that you saw were all just me putting cameras in different places and running between them like a madman. Second shooters are a good idea if there's going to be multiple locations, and like if I'm not able to capture the groom getting ready, I'll hire a second to go hang out with him. But generally speaking, I like to not have a big crew. I don't want people to feel like there's an MTV crew just following around. I don't want people getting nervous. You know, I like to function more like a photographer and just small profile, fly on the wall, let people react normally, and then put it together into a dope film.
Well, and the thing about it is, Austin, it goes back to, you know, one of the things you said to ask, you know, when you're hiring a videographer is, and I say this for so many wedding professionals, but it's time and it's wedding experience. You know, it's not just film experience. It is literally wedding experience, because just like you said earlier, you know, knowing the timeline and knowing you know, what you're working with through the day, but knowing also that with that experience, you know, you've gotten the shots that you need. You know that, just like you said, there's times that you get done and you're like, okay, I've got, I feel like I've gotten everything. And just like with this, here you're staying the next day and going and filming more B-roll. So to me, just watching this behind the scene, like, I know I've seen and I've worked with Premiere Pro, I know what it takes, but honestly, just watching you put that all together, and then the heart that you put it all together with is incredible. And I say this all the time, but wedding professionals in the 417 area, we all have a heart for couples and weddings and love what you do. But I know, just watching that time, just watching all of that in that film is just incredible. And I'm so thankful that you showed us, because I feel like sometimes, people think, oh, why is that expensive? Or is that really what I need in my budget? But, hopefully now you understand, when you're hiring that filmmaker, that there's so much that goes into it. So hopefully, and when Austin messaged me, I always like to do topics that wedding professionals, have a passion for and have a heart that will help couples. And when Austin messaged me, I'm like, oh, like, I was excited, and I'm not getting married. But I was excited because I think it helps allow you to realize how much that goes into it. So when you're you should never base anything based off of price. Know that it's what you're going to get in return, and you have shown that. Let alone the tips as far as how to hire a wedding videographer. If you didn't get to see that, we will be posting in the next few days. But also, just watching the time that you put into it is crazy. And then watching how you do most of them by yourself, and all the different camera angles and the sound, and oh my goodness.
Yep. It's a good time. I love it. So thanks for having me on, though. I really appreciate it. This is fun. And now you guys can understand why I get most of my work done at like 2 a.m. because it's a lot of, I do envy photographers because you guys get to edit your stuff while like watching Netflix and kind of chilling out. And I'm like headphones on, like dialed in, like, so yeah, sometimes like I'll listen to podcasts just like when I'm trimming down just the B-roll and I don't need to listen to things. And it's like, oh, that's such sweet editing time. So precious because I can just listen to other things. And I probably like, even after I finish a film, it'll sit online for a couple days and I'll just watch it ad nauseum for like, I'll probably watch it more times than the couple will, just to make sure like, oh, that shot's a little shaky or that white balance is a little off, and I'll go back and I'll fix it and I'll re-export it. And then I'll watch that for a few days. I'll also see like how it looks on an iPhone. Like, I'll color grade it on a specific color calibrated monitor, but it looks different on phones. So you just got to get it as close as possible. And if it looks a little too green on an iPhone, maybe I'll go back and tweak some shots, but it's crazy.
How many times, because obviously I understand that part of it, and you literally, just an FYI, there's times that, and I know Austin will agree with this, but there's times that you are hearing the vows so many times. And just like you said, I can imagine if you just went from shooting someone's wedding and hearing those vows over and over and over again, and then trying to write your own. I can't even imagine.
I know.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because I didn't want to like copy anybody, and I was like, oh man, some of these are like really good, but I can't use it because Steph has probably watched this film and she's gonna know. So I did, yeah. That's why it took so long for me to write it up.
I love it because you hear it. It's something as you're going through all this, and obviously Austin just showed us the final part of all this, but in order to figure out what parts of it, you have to listen to it over and over and over again to find those parts. But then also, when you've created the film, you've heard it so many times that like you'll hear it for weeks. You can honestly hear it for weeks, like oh, and you'll think, oh yeah, they said that in that wedding, and I remember. Yep. Let alone it takes you back there.
Yeah, and I've never reused a song once, so it's totally unique to each couple. And what's funny too is a lot of times I'll license a song, whether it's for like a wedding or a corporate project or commercial or something like that, and then like a few months later I'll hear that same song in like a big national spot, because we typically content creators license from the same sources.
Right.
And I'm like, I know McDonald's just used that song and it's kind of weird, but I used part of that in a wedding video a couple of years ago. So
yeah.
but
You
yeah,
remember because you've heard it so many times.
oh yeah, they're all in, like if you played a random song from my like just the song from my like my licensed category, I'd be like, oh, that's Jessica and Jesse. Yeah, that's from 2013. Like that was me. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So hopefully, you guys, thank you for joining on with us today. We love coming live every Wednesday. And again, Austin, seriously, thank you. Thank you for diving so deep, because I feel like it was incredibly helpful, let alone knowing how questions to ask when you're looking for a videographer, but then also understanding when you are asking those questions, know that the time that they are putting into it at the end of the day is what you're paying for. It, you know, a lot of people think you're just going and filming and then guess what? You get to go home and, you know, slap something together. That's so not it. It is so if you could just go and film weddings, you'd probably do that every day, all day long. It's this part of it that takes the heart and the time.
It's the post for sure. Like once upon a time, I calculated what my hourly rate was, including all the editing time. And when it became apparent that I was making like $3 or $4 an hour, I just stopped counting. I was like, no, I'm good. Like, just make an awesome film and get it out there.
Yeah. So we did have some comments. We really, I think you went into such good detail. We didn't really have any questions, but we did have some comments. Lori said a huge amount of time invested in making these memories for each couple that will last a lifetime. Michael said beautiful work, and Sean said amazing. So you know, if you have not seen more of Austin's work, go to you know, we have it on Top Weddings on his page, but also you can go check out his Facebook and Instagram, and also his website. And just, you know, and I meant to do that disclaimer at the beginning, because I feel like no matter how many times I've watched Austin's film, even today, knew what we were going to be watching and knew it, but still had a tear in my eye, just the way he tells the story. So Austin, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your heart for wedding professionals. You know, the other thing that I will say is Austin not only has AceLegendary, but he is also the president of All About Weddings, which is a wedding show that will be happening in January as well. And honestly, he has been a huge part of Top Weddings, and we are incredibly thankful. And I feel like I hug this guy every time I'm with him, because yeah, he has helped us so much. So Top Weddings would not be where it's at without him. So, but thank you all for joining on. Make sure you go check out his page. Make sure you like his page and follow him if you want to see some beautiful weddings. And just beautiful creative work. Make sure you go and check him out. So
yep, you can pretty much search AceLegendary, all one word, everywhere. Google, Facebook, Instagram, you'll find me. So yeah. Cry at some strangers. It's a really good time.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for joining. See you next Wednesday. Next Wednesday we have Liz from Norman's Bridal is going to be here. So we have. We're really excited to have her on. And we just had one more comment and then we'll get off here. Sean said, I've seen so many of his videos. They are so professional and unique. So, couldn't have summed it up better. Love that. Thanks, Sean. And so thank you guys. Thanks for joining with us. And thank you, Austin, for taking your time to help couples.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.